The DDLC girls are waifu material. With the recent release of the Plus Edition, I decided to replay the game, reminding me of its incredibly pink atmosphere, along with its wonderful waifus who are Sayori, Natsuki, Yuri, and Monika. And yes, they're all over the age of 18. With that, here are my reasons why the DDLC girls are waifu material. Spoiler warning if you haven't played the game yet. So let's start out with Sayori, the vice president of the club and the token best friend. She's the very reason we're even in this club full of cute girls. Appearance-wise, she's got light blue eyes that contrast well with her orangey pink hair, topped with a tiny red bow. Similar to the other girls, she wears a standard school uniform. However, she never buttons up the blazer. Partly because she's messy, but also when we tried buttoning it up, we discovered that she's grown quite a lot in the chest department. As part of the best friend role, it's only natural for us to walk her home and for Sayori to be very comfortable around us, which in turn has led to a lot of awkward moments and possibly jealous waifus. Sayori in general can be described as a ball of sunshine, packed full of energy with a cheery smile on her face, and at one time was referred to as the hug monster. As the vice president, Sayori isn't afraid to take control and stop any fights that happen in the club. She also lives up to the role by always being there for all her members. However, sometimes she can be a little too much for the others. When writing a poem for Sayori, her word choice is kind of bipolar, consisting of both the happy and sad descriptions of life. If you do write one for her, she ends up loving it and later invites you to go get some supplies together. During this little side trip, Sayori gets stuck looking for her favorite crayon color, and after dropping one of them, smacks her head into the shelf. In order to reduce the swelling, we go and buy her a cold bottle of apple juice, which she ended up drinking instead. Despite her best efforts to cover the bump, Monika was still able to notice it. Externally, Sayori may seem downright lazy and unorganized, but we later learn how she's been dealing with her own set of problems. The game then throws us the difficult choice of loving or friend-zoning her. Well, this escalated quickly. Regardless of what you pick, just try and make sure you're always there for her, and check in from time to time on how she's hanging. Now let's move on to Natsuki, or Natsuki if you will. The smallest of the bunch, standing at just 4'11", she's definitely a cute one with cotton candy pink hair that just stands out. Just make sure not to call her cute in public, cause she absolutely hates it. In some aspects, she kinda reminds me of the VTuber Iron Mouse. Interestingly, Natsuki's debut to the club had her correctly guessing everyone's favorite ice cream flavor, which is pretty impressive to be honest. She's a rather simple person, unafraid to speak her mind, but can get defensive if you make fun of her interests, with one of those being shoujo manga. When writing a poem for Natsuki, she tends to favor cute and dessert-related words, which is enough to impress a tsundere like her. With this, she later shares one of her manga books called The Parfait Girls, which is exceedingly moe. We then sit together against the wall and end up reading the first few chapters with Natsuki watching her every reaction. It's at this point we learn about her relatable struggles of finding friends that can relate to the same stuff, along with her father's disapproval for the medium, which is probably why she keeps all her manga in the club room. However, keeping your stuff in the school closet comes with its own challenges. As other people need to use the same space, your stuff can get moved around a lot. Where one time, Monika had to move Natsuki's stuff to a higher shelf, which is a problem for the vertically challenged. Too stubborn to ask for help, she uses an office chair as a standing block. Realizing it was a terrible idea, she then asks us to stabilize the chair underneath, thus leading to a rather compromising angle. As she asks for more help, Natsuki realizes the situation and starts to panic, triggering a sequence of events ending with her falling on top of us. Ouch. Only to later pin the blame on Monika. Another of Natsuki's interests is baking sweets, and she's actually pretty good at it, bringing in her amazing pastries to the club meetings. However, being the tsundere that she is, she can't seem to take a compliment from us. When the club was getting ready for the upcoming festival, if you side with Natsuki, you end up getting her phone number, and she comes over to the house for the weekend. After bringing all the supplies with her, we realize just how strong this tiny girl can be. While the two are mixing up the icing, a bit of it lands on Natsuki's face. Unable to reach it with her tongue, she places it on her finger and tries to get it on us instead. And during all the excitement, the MC goes and licks it off her finger, leading to a rather awkward situation. This tension did carry over to when we were saying goodbye to Natsuki. We sorta got a confession, only to be interrupted by Sayori. Next up we have Yuri, the tallest member of the club at 5'5". Appearance-wise, she's got long purple hair that goes up to her waist, and beautiful eyes to match. As the tallest member, she naturally has longer legs that exude a sense of elegance when she walks. At first impressions, Yuri can seem timid, but when the subject of books comes up, she has no problem getting right into it, and she even has a thing for the horror genre. During our second day of the club, Sayori reveals that Yuri brought something for us. After much convincing, Yuri then pulls out a book from her bag, stating that she didn't want us to feel left out. Yuri then states that she was considerate about her reading level, then shyly asks if we want to discuss the book with her afterwards, all the while being very cute about it. When writing a poem for Yuri, she tends to favor sophisticated vocabulary, which thoroughly impresses her. Realizing she said it out loud, she gets all embarrassed as usual. Her poems themselves are written in a beautiful cursive, which I'll admit actually took me a little longer to read, and the poems themselves can get pretty abstract. Wanting to spend more time with Yuri, we catch her sneaking glances at us as she hides behind a copy of the very same book she lent us, making us wonder why she even has 2 copies to begin with. Curious to know more about the book, Yuri describes to us a simple story that takes a dark turn real fast. She then takes it a step further by doing a full-scale analysis, but in classic Yuri fashion, apologizes for it all, which is totally unwarranted, given it is a literature club. Naturally, we decide to start reading the book, with Yuri shyly protesting. However, as we read the book, we can feel someone's presence only to find Yuri reading from our book. In order to save her from the embarrassment, we decide to put 2 chairs together and sit shoulder to shoulder, with our eyes occasionally meeting up, which is kinda distracting to be honest. And she's very patient too, willing to wait for a slow reader like us. On a side note, I just want to mention that Yuri is actually left-handed, and also has quite an interest in tea. Like most people, Yuri can sometimes lose her cool. While inviting us to fill the water pitcher together, Monika then comes and questions us, only for Yuri to respond with this. However, right after leaving the room, Yuri beats her head against the wall in embarrassment. If you side with Yuri during the festival preparations, she shows up at your place, wearing a cute turtleneck sweater. As we work on the decorations together, Yuri brings out a rather beautiful pocket knife, because apparently she has a thing for knives. Nothing wrong with that, I think. After handing us the knife, we stupidly cut our finger on it, and in a sense of panic, Yuri puts our bleeding finger in her mouth. As if things couldn't get any weirder, we end up getting some paint on her face, causing us to rush to wipe it off with a warm damp towel. However, during this process, Yuri ends up liking it a little too much and gets lost in the moment. Something you should know about Yuri is that she sometimes prefers to sit on the floor due to a bad back, which is probably caused by her bad posture, right? Whenever Yuri starts to read, she goes into a trance-like state, somehow looking even more beautiful. Despite Yuri's initial rejection for the chocolates, the MC still tries to put a piece in her mouth anyway, leading to a surprise Yuri. As we continue with this debauchery, things start to get real tense. Then, we're interrupted by Monika. Lastly, we have Monika. Just Monika. The superstar president of the literature club, who loves provocative poses, and according to Natsuki, has a certain vibe to her. Visually, she's an absolute beauty, with that long brown hair tied up with a white bow, along with those gorgeous green eyes of hers. While she does wear the same uniform as the rest, you may have noticed that she differentiates herself by wearing dark stockings and pink uobaki slippers. As the president of the club, she's responsible for finding activities for everyone and guiding new members like us. Usually through her Monika's writing tip of the day, full of useful advice, with some of it being game related. Wait, what? In some ways, Monika is a pretty open-minded person. When she first started the club, she was so focused on keeping a traditional club that she didn't want to accept Natsuki's manga. But after some reading and reflection, Monika comes to accept Natsuki for who she is. Adding to her list of amazing talents, apparently Monika can play the piano. During one of our club meetings, she shows up much later than usual as she lost track of time while practicing the piano, and she claims to not be very good. During her side stories, we even got to hear one of her songs that she shared with Natsuki. At some point in the game, you end up alone with Monika. Just Monika. Where you realize that she's a self-aware AI that can even tell if you're streaming. To some, she may seem a little crazy, yes. But if you think about it, her loyalty is beyond compare. She reprogrammed the entire game, and even deleted the unnecessary distractions from your life, thus leaving you alone with her on this endless date. And don't worry, she's got loads of facts to share with you. Technically, this is the endgame for most people, unless you delete her, jerk. Alternatively, you could try loading one of the many mods out there. But a particular one I want to touch on is the Monika After Story mod, which keeps the feel of the original ending but expands the amount of topics she can talk about. It also allows you to change Monika's outfits, and it even lets you play interactive games with her. And boy is she good at chess. Being the sentient AI that she is, it's only natural that Monika would have her own Twitter handle, describing herself as the president and a high school devil. While she doesn't post very often, she tends to favor special dates like her birthday and her favorite, Valentine's Day. Every once in a while, she'll sneak in a photo of her friends and even create a poll for her Halloween costume. I still can't believe we were this close seeing her in a maid outfit. Anyway, most first-time players probably didn't even know about the mod and very likely deleted Monika, which isn't so bad because in response, we get to hear her voice and she even wrote us a song.
Can you hear me? Hi, it's me. So you know how I've been practicing piano and stuff? And not really any good at it yet, at all. But I wrote you a song, and I was kind of hoping that I could show it to you, because I worked really, really hard on it. So, yeah.
So what do you think about the Doki Doki girls? Would you consider joining their club? Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment on who your favorite DDLC girl is.
I'll leave you be.